Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. Happy Thursday morning. Welcome to our monthly network meeting. I'm Andrea Nelson Roberts, the COO of the network. It's good to see all of you, see your names on the screen. If you would, please make sure that you put your name and position and agency in the chat so we can keep track of who's here. We've been having quite a lively chat in these meetings lately, which has been great. There's been awesome connections and follow-ups, so we hope to keep that going. So this morning, I'll go over the intro and the meeting norms and then hand it off to our wonderful Ailey Pope. So the network's vision is to build equity, and we do that through our mission by creating spaces and places where transformational relationships are built. We have 3 coalitions that all of you are members of through your organizations. 5 Beige 5, which works together to ready the children of the community for kindergarten. Back to Basics, whose goal is to honor the dignity of the community by increasing access to life's basic needs. And Youth First, which supports youth of the community to complete high school prepared for post-secondary options and jobs. Next slide, please. So our meeting norms for these Zoom meetings, we start on time and end on time. The meeting today will be done by 10 a.m. this morning. Everyone has a voice, even through your computers and keyboards. We like to practice intentional honesty and listening, presume positive intent, create relationships and enhance conversations. And of course, with collaboration, what's learned here leaves here. So we do post these videos, the meeting, and additionally, the video that we'll watch in a little bit. Both of those will be on the Community Impact Network's YouTube page. And you can get those links through our monthly newsletter. You can email Natasha or Ailey or me for that contact. So we hope that you share what you learn in this meeting or in the video with your community. So in order for us to, and I mentioned it before in the chat, but please participate, unmute yourself, use the chat box. We'll have a panel with those featured in the video a little bit later on. Please respect each other's thoughts and ideas. Share any valuable resources that you see in the chat or through the conversation. And as I mentioned, this meeting will be on the portal and the YouTube. So I am going to hand it off to our Director of Service, Ailey Pope. So next slide, please, Casey.
Well, good morning, partners. It is so good to be with you, another network meeting, talking about key topics that impact our community. I wanted to share with you this morning one of my favorite quotes. Dr. Martin Luther King once said, "Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love." Each and every one of you are great. And this morning, I wanted to give you all a word of encouragement. The work you do is amazing and inspiring to us at the network every day. You are the bomb. So, to the business of today. We recently spoke about the community resources in the 24/1 footprint and learned about all the amazing partners and resources available. This month, we are talking about service-enriched housing in 24/1. Our purpose of being together today is not only fellowship with one another in the chat and discussion, but to spend time really getting to know more about the housing services available to community members in the footprint and the entities providing these vital services. Today, we will explore the ways that our Back to Basics coalition is an integral piece to providing housing to the 24/1 footprint. Our hope is that by the end of this meeting, you would have been able to engage with partners working to solve issues ranging from housing instability to breaking down barriers to homeownership. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned in the intro, last month we talked about the concept of the Youth Impact Continuum. This month, we are focusing our sights on the housing continuum. We will explore this topic in two parts. Part one, today, will deal with homelessness and rental, along with services provided for residents. In our part two, which will be in November, we will discuss rental to home ownership. So we began our discussion with the concept of the continuum as a continuous sequence, or in other words, something that keeps going and going. As we explored last month, the network plays a crucial role in each of these continuums, from community resources to housing. The housing continuum covers unhoused families and families in transition. This could be a family that is staying at a local hotel, or even the family that is living in their vehicle for shelter. In 2021, the Normandy Schools Collaborative, NSC, reported 104 families in transition, 418 youth doubled up, and 77 unaccompanied youth. The graphic that you see illustrates the process from being unhoused to home ownership. This is an issue because we have higher rates of renting than ownership in our footprint. The partners you will hear from today are working along with this continuum to support families and youth who are battling with this issue. Statistically speaking, the data on this graph shows the differences in housing in the 24-1 compared to St. Louis County as a whole, Missouri, and the nation. Housing units in the 24-1 are 54% renter occupied, compared to 31% in St. Louis County and 36% nationwide. So today, we will hear from some of our partners working along this spectrum. We'll hear from St. Vincent's Home for Children and their work with youth, as well as from our partners from Epworth, who also work to support our youth in transition. We will also hear from St. Louis County Housing Authority and the Beyond Housing Resource Coordinators to learn more about the opportunities there are to connect with these organizations. So today, we continue down the yellow brick road of solving problems by engaging each other and learning more about how we can partner and collaborate in these spaces. Next slide, please. So before we hop into today's topic, I wanted to spend a bit of our time going over the terms that you may hear. On the screen, you'll see homeless versus unhoused. You'll see unhoused neighbors, housing instability, unhoused living on the streets, and couch surfing. As we know, words matter, and how we refer to our neighbors and fellow community members is crucial in engaging with the people we serve. So today, you may hear throughout the discussion terms that are changing. We will refer to folks that may be homeless as unhoused, or housing unstable, or our unhoused neighbors. It is imperative that we make sure that we preserve the dignity of all community members, no matter what the circumstance. While preparing for this meeting and talking to our partners, I also learned the difference between unhoused living on the street and couch surfing. While hearing from our partners engaged with supporting our youth in transition, you may learn that many of our youth are not on the street unhoused, but rather in different homes and going from couch to try to maintain stability. These are just a few terms you may hear, and we wanted to take some time to go through them. So today, I invite you to think of ways that your organization would like to potentially collaborate with our panelists today. As always, we are excited to continue walking hand in hand with each of you to knock down barriers for families throughout the 24-1 footprint. The next voice you will hear after the video will be Mr. Chris Siegel from St. Vincent's Home for Children. Casey, play the video.
Housing is primary. There's nothing more important than where you live. There's nothing more important than where a family calls home.
Housing is the foundation to being able to build upon a structure. If we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, housing and food and basic needs is at the foundation of that benchmark. And then we can start building upon other things that create stronger health outcomes, that create better outcomes when it comes into finishing education and achieving job goals. But it really becomes difficult for someone to focus on achieving any of those things if at night they don't have a place to return home to.
Home could look like different for many people, right? But if you don't have a safe place to go, there's really not much that you can do. So how could you go to work 9 to 5 or 40 hours, even 20 hours a week when you don't know where you're gonna go after you get off work? So safe housing is really, really important, really for our young people in particular.
Something that everyone needs to know about housing instability is that it can affect anyone. That it's pretty easy for some of these kids to go from a place where they feel fairly stable to a place where they're entirely homeless.
It's difficult to identify our homeless youth because they hide it so well. And then also they don't want others to know that they are homeless. If you're living at a friend's house, if you're we like to call it couch hopping. So if you don't have a stable roof over your head, if you're, pretty much hopping house to house or hopping couch to couch.
Sometimes we have youth that come, their entire family is homeless. So there is an instance. A few other instances could include like a parent kicking a young person out. We do see a lot, like when someone turns 18 or they're about to get ready to graduate high school, their parents say that they can't stay here anymore after they graduate. So that is how sometimes we get youth on our caseload based off that.
These are kids who don't have the necessary tools and connections to make that transition from childhood to adulthood. Many kids have that support. They have the ability to stay with a family member or a parent even after they've become an adult, and maybe they have that extra time to get on their feet. If they lose a job, that doesn't mean losing their home, but for our kids, losing a job might mean losing their housing.
And sometimes it happens so quickly that they really need a lot of support in those moments, and they are kind of upside down in their life and not sure which way is up, and they need a lot of help just landing somewhere where they feel safe, where they feel like they can even consider what are my goals in my life.
For us, one of the important things about housing instability is that it really impacts health outcomes. And so what we know and what I know as a leader of this organization is that having safe and stable housing really improves health outcomes, from behavioral health to physical health and mental health. To me, housing is one of those core basic needs that exists for not only our youth, but families and ultimately all the individuals in our community.
Stability brings a lot. It's a feeling of safety. It allows the family to prosper in different areas of their life, education, their mental health. I just know that when the residents feel stable, they're more apt to prosper in other areas of their life.
So to begin with someone's home is to begin at square one or at step one and to go from there. So when you want to build a community, you start with someone's home.
St. Vincent has a 170-year history within the community. Over all of these years, we've transformed to always meet the needs of the community. Today, in our housing programs, we serve youth ages 10 to 19. A youth may come into our care and they may walk into an intake and they may come alone and they may come with families. But immediately they are met with a therapist, a licensed clinician, to do an assessment. And the assessment is really about what's happening in their lives, what's happening behaviorally, what's happening with mental health, what's happening with housing stability and food insecurities and all the things that may exist.
Through conversations with them, through the time that they're here with us, we get to know more and more about that particular individual. So as we begin to complete that assessment, then we determine then what those needs are.
St. Vincent offers a number of different programs, individual therapy sessions, family therapy, community group sessions where they're learning various life skills.
I work with clients anywhere from 9 to 19, at risk, involve trauma, behavior issues, anywhere from neglect, abuse. We provide all type of services as in TLP, emergency shelter.
So we have the drop-in center, which is open Monday through Friday, 3:30 until 7 p.m. We have a general purpose area where the kids can come down, they can use a laptop, they can, just hang out with their friends. We have a teaching kitchen, which they can go into, and we have different staff members that will, show them how to make a quick meal. Gymnasium that they can use. Also a weightlifting gym. And then we have a laundromat. So if they need to wash their clothes, they can come here and wash clothes.
So there's lots of recreational activity. There's lots of things that allow St. Vincent to feel like a part of the community, to feel like home for our youth, and lots of resources and services that are available.
When I think about Epworth, I think about one big umbrella and then so many things underneath that umbrella. We have many services here. In addition to our emergency shelter, transitional, we have our Chafee program. We also have aftercare.
We have a lot of clients who, because Epworth has an umbrella of services, it's not just Chafee, it's not just street outreach. We have all of these different services that allows us to look at our clients and their needs and say, okay, maybe I can't meet this need as a worker, but I know someone who can help them meet that need.
First, we like to start just building that communication, that rapport with that youth, so they can open up and they can, pretty much trust us, and also once they believe they can trust us, then they start opening up and we can get down to the root of things and to pretty much support their basic needs.
So say for instance, a youth does not have a stable placement. So first day they come into the drop-in center, they say, hey, it could be I don't have a place to stay tonight. So of course what we would do with short term would be contacting our emergency shelter and things like that first to try to see if emergency shelter be placed. For long-term housing, we will complete a housing assessment. So it's a questionnaire. I cannot quote exactly how many questions off the hand, but it normally takes probably about 15 minutes, if that, and that is how a young person gets placed on a housing list.
This program works. We are working, and it's a need. It's a need, and we're here for a purpose. And once we can do that, and we continue to do that, it will expand, and a friend will bring another friend and pretty much get the word out. So it warms my heart. That's what keeps me motivated. That's what keeps me driving. That's what keeps me waking up every day knowing that I made a difference in someone's life today.
So Beyond Housing is a nonprofit community development organization that is based within the boundaries of the Normandy Schools Collaborative. We've been in the housing industry for many years, starting back in 1975. So our rental housing department is one of our largest and longest departments within the organization.
The rental homes offer a unique social service component that comes along with being a resident. So not just coming to live here, it's a program. We want you to accomplish long-term goals. The main goal is stability.
Our homes are income restricted, so really set aside for low to moderate income families. Once a resident moves into our program, they would meet with our housing resource specialist to complete a assessment to see what self-identified goals the resident has, whether that's credit repair, budgeting, home ownership, and then that resident is then paired with a specialist based off of what their needs are.
People on my specific caseload come from all walks of life. Some of them are underprivileged. Some of them have been disenfranchised. Others of them want to just do things right, coming out of the gate with adulthood.
Some of them are very, very vulnerable. They've come from bad situations in their previous home. So when they come to Beyond Housing, being able to offer them resources, affordable housing, stability, that helps them out a lot. Not everyone have family support, so we often give that family support and that family love.
When I see a youth transition into independent living for the first time and then become successful and being a part of that experience, it makes me feel really accomplished, because a lot of times this is a person who has started out with nothing, no connections in the community, no parents to assist them with becoming independent. And so when I see them not only get into an independent living situation, but maintain that and thrive in that, that's when I feel good about, what we've done on our end to support that.
Access to safe and affordable housing does a lot for the community. The community begins to thrive and prosper, and it makes people want to come to the community and remain in the community.
I think in general, what we have to think about is how we can have a better community, but do it collectively. All of us are neighbors, and what happens to one of us really impacts all of us. So when we thrive together, we can thrive as a community. But when we struggle as a community, and there is, all wins and all losses as far as the challenges that exist within the community really impact everyone. We're neighbors.
Chris?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. You want to share with us about St. Vincent and some of your programming?
Absolutely. Well, first I want to thank the network, for having it, bringing us all together. Someone touched on fellowship, and it's powerful. It's great to see everybody working so hard to better our neighbors' life and our community. Number of programs over here at St. Vincent. I think for our purposes, the two main ones to focus on will be the emergency shelter program and the transitional living program, or the TLP. Our emergency shelter program, it's a 30-day program. And as someone referred to earlier in the video, it's ages 10 to 19 for any youth who's residing in St. Louis County or who's in CD custody anywhere in Missouri. These youth are experiencing challenging home situations. So it could be a situation where, unfortunately, the parents said to the youth that you can't come back, right? So they'll come in for the 30 days. And our goal there is always family reunification. That's why we offer that family therapy piece. But if not, then it's to find them a longer term program, age appropriate for them. Now, all of our emergency shelter youth are not experiencing housing instability. Some, the plan is for them to go back home, and it's just they're having a rocky patch, and the family wants to get them back on track. So about 60% of our youth that enter the emergency shelter, the plan is for them to return home. So it's about 40% that are experiencing that housing instability. Life crisis programs a little shorter term. That's a 21-day program. That's youth is age 10 to 17 anywhere in Missouri that are experiencing housing instability, specific really to runaways. The goal is, again, it's family reunification, but they come in for 21 days. And if it's safe for them to go home, that's the goal. Oftentimes for a runaway, that's not a safe situation, then CD would get involved. But it's a shorter term program. And the goal here is to reunify the family or get them to a longer term stable housing situation. Right. The TLP, I shared before on, I think the last meeting that we historically been a 90-day program. And I think everybody on the call realizes that's not a TLP, right? That's kind of glorified emergency shelter. Now, we are grateful for those 90 days because those 30 days go by really fast. 90 go by really fast. So we were grateful for that. But we have recently been approved for an 18-month program. Now, that's a true TLP. That's youths any ages 16 to 20. 16 or 17 have to be a qualified minor. It's pretty easy to meet that threshold to be a qualified minor. And we have TLPG, which is the group home, and TLPS, which is a scattered site. Right now, the TLPGs in our main facility, our TLPS, our apartments in the back. We have 2 apartments. One houses 3 youth, the other houses 2 youth. We are exploring some more community options. To go ahead and expand that program, because what we're finding is once we got expanded 18 months, there's great demand for this program. One of the questions that we got is the biggest need that we see, and it's long-term housing for youth to this age, right? So we want to grow this program as much as we can. For our TLPS right now, it's only for 18 and up, but we can reevaluate that. 16 to 17 is tough to especially get them in the community. So that would probably be, our TLPG or our on-campus housing. But we're really excited about the TLP being 18 months because that gives us chances to really help these youth build the school skills necessary to thrive in the community after they leave us. And then just some other resources. We have our drop-in center. It's Monday through Friday, 3 to 7. We are right around the corner from Epworth, and they do a wonderful job with the drop-in. So we kind of wanted to go to 7 o'clock because they close at 5. And a lot of times the youth will bounce back and forth, but we do offer, they can get a meal every day. They can receive case management. Something that's kind of unique to us is the therapeutic component. If they are 18 or over, they can receive individual therapy or group therapy. 16 and 17, we would need the guardian's permission to sign them up for that, but therapists are available to speak with them. There's a place they can do laundry. As Karen said in our video, we have a learning kitchen. So there's lots of opportunities for them in the drop-in, and a component of that is outreach, where our outreach coordinator will go out each day to try and meet the youth where they are. They're experiencing housing instability, just to give them information and care packages so they know they have somewhere safe to go when they need it or if they choose to. So those are kind of an outline of our services.
Thank you. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right. Denitra, you want to share a little bit about Beyond Housing Resource Coordinators?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. We are
an organization that provides affordable housing to within the 24-1 community, as we say, and that's within the Normandy School Collaborative. What you see on the screen where it says the specialized case management model, that is our new model. Previously, the housing resource coordinators were assigned by the different municipalities. For instance, someone was in charge of residents that lived in Pagelldale. Well, we wanted to become more transformative, and so we came up with this model. And so you have the intake housing resource coordinator. So any new residents that come in will go through the intake. They will go through an assessment, and after the intake coordinator assess them, she will then decide she will assign that resident to either the housing stability specialist, the employment education specialist, or the financial capability specialist. And with this new model, it allows us to work more one-on-one and give that resident services around their the goals that they have set with us. Not everyone not everyone come in with the main goal of becoming a homeowner. Some come in just wanting to be stable. Some come in needing employment and education assistance. And last but not least, the financial capability. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm a little nervous. The financial capability special, she works with those that have been thriving and are pretty stable and close to home ownership. The rental to new home ownership program, I think you guys will focus on that a little more next month, but we do have a program where we refer our residents over to our home buyer education team. And then they go through the home buying process and become educated on the process itself. And that's about it for now.
For now, yes, ma'am. We'll hear more from you. You did an awesome job, though. We're all snapping, so you did an awesome job. Looking forward to hearing more from you. Next slide, please. Deanna.
Good morning. I'm Deanna Alsman, and I'm the Director of Older Youth Services here at Epworth. My main role here, I've been with Epworth since 2008. So I oversee our street outreach program and our Chafee foster care program. So speaking of street outreach, so we started our street outreach program, I believe, in 2010. So in the last 12 years, Terry Fox, the vice president now, and I have been overseeing the street outreach program. The first component of street outreach is really getting out into the streets, into the community. Presentations to community members and informing them of our services and just informing them of what it looks like for youth to be unhoused, education and prevention in those areas. And actually going out and finding youth, looking where do youth congregate, and just spreading the word, not just looking for unhoused youth, but spreading the word about our services to all youth that we encounter in the community, whether it be, in the streets of U City or at the libraries or, any other community resources, just really spreading the word and trying to speak to youth in general and create a relationship and give them information about our services. And then really the next step for those youth in the community is coming to our drop-in center, having a safe place to meet adults who care and form that relationship, get their basic needs met through many things that St. Vincent's already spoke about, but a meal every day. We have wonderful volunteers that are here almost daily, working with the youth in our kitchen to cook and prepare meals together, building that community bond, learning a skill, and also giving them that much needed warm meal that they're going to need throughout the day. We have shower facilities, we have laundry facilities, hygiene items, clothing items, donated clothing items that is put to much use throughout our program. Case management services. So we have case managers who can work with youth and help them develop their treatment plan. What are their goals? What do they want to accomplish in their lives? And how can we assist them with meeting those goals? Our drop-in center is open Monday through Friday from 12 to 5. We have special events and classes in the evenings as well. So life skills, more structured drop-in center time, where we're teaching life skills 2 nights a week from 6 to 8. So youth are able to stay and participate in those. During our open drop-in center time, we revel in the fact that we have many community partners that come into our drop-in center to provide additional services, and anything from legal services to fun activities with the library. Planned Parenthood comes and does presentations for our youth as well. Army Reserve is here talking to the youth about their services, Job Corps, and many other community partners that do have a presence within our drop-in center to make youth aware of those services and help them meet their goals for their lives. Other parts of Epworth, we also have a youth emergency shelter that is a 30-day program. Within the shelter, there are therapists that are assessing youth's needs, assisting them with their housing plans as well. Transitional living program. We have a transitional living structured scattered sites, which is on Magnolia in the city. And I believe we have the capacity to serve 32 youth within that program. So that is a program, the structured scattered sites, the youth are in their own apartments. However, there is a staff member present at all times in the building to kind of assist them with learning those skills so they can then move into the unstructured scattered sites program, which are apartments in the community, and both of those programs are approximately 18 months. Our Chafee foster care program works with those youth in foster care 14 to 21 and can continue with those services until the age of 23 if they choose. And that's more of a life skills building for those youth in foster care, assisting them with preparing to age out of the system and to be independent, and providing that support even after that happens so that they can be successful in that. Our food pantry is open one Saturday a month. I believe it's the third Saturday every month. And that's in the mornings from 10 to 12, or as long as the food supply lasts. I think that kind of covered it. At psychological services, I forgot that, sorry. They are on the 3rd floor of our building here in Normandy. And that is comprehensive testing and evaluations by our psychologists for, as it says, children, adolescents, and adults age 3 and above.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Deanna. We look forward to hearing more from you. And next slide, please. All right, Anna.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Anna Hollian. I am the Director of Strategic Initiatives for the Housing Authority of St. Louis County, which is one of the largest providers of affordable housing in the county. And if you're sort of unfamiliar with what a housing authority is, as I was many years ago, it's actually not a 501c3, and we are not part of St. Louis County government. It is a government entity that's authorized to administer HUD housing programs. There are 3,500 total public housing authorities throughout the county, and we are one of 130 in the state of Missouri. So just before I sort of jump into our programs, wanted to let you know what our mission is, which has 4 components to it. We provide decent, safe, and affordable housing to county residents. We work to ensure equal housing opportunity. We try to promote self-sufficiency with our residents within our programs. And ultimately, our goal is to improve the quality of life and economic vitality for low and moderate income families in the county. So in terms of our programs in 2022, we've served 8,000 families. That's about 20,000 individuals, primarily through our first 2 programs that you see on the slide here. So our Housing Choice Voucher program is by far our largest program. We have currently, I believe, almost 7,000 public housing or housing choice vouchers that we have issued. So that program is a rental assistance program It allows low-income families, elderly and disabled households to find affordable housing in the private market. So they come to us, and this is where we need partners because our wait list is currently 3 to 4 years long. When someone is interested in receiving a voucher, they sign up for the wait list, and eventually after, it depends on how many people are on the wait list. At a certain point in time, they will be issued a voucher, which will help with their monthly rent. And they'll have a caseworker from the housing authority that will sort of help them through that process and help them with any of their additional needs. In terms of our public housing units, the authority also owns and manages a number of public housing units that are located through various areas of the county. So our public housing inventory is single family homes, but also apartment complexes. And again, that serves families, seniors, and persons with disabilities. And currently we have about 510 public housing units that we oversee. So those are really the two main ways that we serve our clients. The second two programs that you see on the screen are programs that we are, strategically trying to grow and increase because of how great we think they are, and really gives people the opportunity to sort of build wealth and access different areas of the county. So the first program is our Family Self-Sufficiency Program. That is a program where you have a designated FSS coordinator that works with you to set goals. Like I think Beyond Housing, Corey was talking about in her video, we sit down and say, what are the 5 goals that you want to accomplish in the next 5 years? And then over a 5-year period, they receive individualized coaching and put money into an escrow account. And at the 5-year period, as long as they have accomplished their goals, which, they have help with along the way, they receive a check. So it's really cool. It's a really cool way to sort of especially help first-time, home buyers build wealth and get into the housing market. So that's a really cool program that we really are trying to expand. As well as our mobility program, which is a program that provides individualized counseling and support to our housing choice voucher families who are interested in moving into higher opportunity areas. This one's tricky because, this is all contingent upon finding affordable housing in these areas. So the role of the mobility housing navigator is to, work with landlords and try to identify some housing options in these areas that could be close to jobs or transit or whatever it may be. So those last two we're really trying to grow, but those first two are really the primary ways that we serve our residents and families. So hopefully that sums it up okay.
Oh, no, that was awesome. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. Next slide. And so now we'll get to engage our partners in a discussion. So thank you all for taking the time to share with us about your program. If there's anyone else from your organization that would like to introduce themselves before we begin, that would be awesome. I saw a few people in here. So if you want to have anyone with you you'd like to introduce. Panelists, and if not, we can hop on in. And you can introduce them when you speak. So which of your resources that we just heard about are the most utilized by community members in the 24/1 footprint, and why do you think that is? Everybody on the panel can have an opportunity to answer. Don't hesitate to hop on in.
I would say, historically, it has been our emergency shelter program that's been the most utilized. But as I said, as we transition to the 18-month TLP program, we're seeing a real uptick in that. And I think the reason for that is there's just limited long-term housing for youth this age experiencing housing instability. So once we were able to kind of expand the program, we were really able to fill that need. Our emergency shelter is still quite robust, but there has been a real shift to TLP, especially especially second half of this year.
I can go next because mine's pretty easy. Given sort of our scope, the services that are most utilized are our public housing units available in the 24/1 footprint, and then our vouchers. So I was doing some research last night, and our map breaks it down by zip code, but in the 63133 Pagedale, sort of Hanley Hills areas, we have about 127 voucher holders. In 63121, which encompasses Normandy, Velda City, Belridge, Belnor, and parts of Pine Lawn, we have about 500 voucher holders. And then additionally, the Housing Authority of St. Louis County also staffs the housing authorities of Pagedale and Hillsdale. So we actually administer sort of their public housing programming and work with their board and mayors to, increase our presence in those two municipalities as well.
I would say, piggybacking off of Chris, I would agree that our shelter is utilized quite frequently, a lot by community members. But as far as numbers, I would say our drop-in center is probably the most utilized service with Epworth. And that's, because of the safe place, because we have the food, we have the youth coming in, we have Sneakers with Soul where they can get new quality tennis shoes every day. So that's open every day. They can't get new tennis shoes every day. But that I would say our drop-in center number wise is the most frequently used service at Epworth.
Okay, I can go next. One of the things that I did not mention with a resident becoming a Beyond Housing resident is the unique social service part of our program. And it is our utility assistance that we offer, and the residents, they utilize that quite a bit versus going out to other agencies. They feel more safe and comfortable coming to us, and that's one of the reasons why they come to us more so than going out to an agency.
Perfect. And I think that's a perfect segue to a question I wanted to ask you all. What are some of the most common supports you see are needed by folks in the 24/1 in relation to housing? And anyone can answer.
I would say quantity and quality homes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would piggyback off of that. I think, if you pay attention to sort of national housing trends, this isn't unique to St. Louis County or the footprint, but rents are very high, and there's just a really low supply of affordable housing units. And what we're seeing happening is that severely cost burdened families are having to compete for a small number of available units with families that are more moderate income. And so I would echo that sentiment that just the lack of supply has made it really difficult to get more people housed.
And with that, even the affordable and safe housing, but then actually finding those landlords that will accept that Section 8 voucher.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, so that adds an additional barrier to our individuals, as well as coming up with security deposits. And maybe they have poor credit or past evictions. So really working with them on cleaning up credit, advocating for them. So those are some barriers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. It's the number of options for these youth. And then, when you talk about the community, I apologize, someone just mentioned it, but it's finding the apartments that are willing to work with you. You may not want your youth to be in, right? And the places you want your youth to be, sometimes those landlords aren't willing. So it's kind of a balancing act right there.
Wow. And I had a specific question for Deanna and Chris about how many unhoused clients would you say you're currently serving? Like ballpark.
I would say at Epworth currently somewhere between 45 and 50 unhoused youth. So that would be, the couch surfing youth, the youth that are in shelters currently because it's a very short-term time, or those who are actually sleeping on the streets or in their cars or abandoned buildings.
Wow, wow.
So yeah, so we're a little bit smaller than Epworth. So right now, you know, if we're talking about facility based, we're looking at about 15 youth.
Okay.
The number we serve at the drop-in center can fluctuate. You know, obviously when we identify youth experiencing housing instability at the drop-in, we try and bring them into services, but you know, for whatever reason, sometimes they're not ready for that step. But yeah, about 15 right now.
Thank you, thank you. So we touched a bit on this in the last question that we asked, but what are some barriers, and I think a few of you mentioned some of them, for folks in the 24/1 when trying to access stable housing? And the second piece to that is, how is your organization addressing some of these barriers?
I think our team is doing a really good job of, first of all, teaching the youth how to advocate for themselves and advocating with them. They're great advocators on behalf of our youth. Trying to develop those relationships with some landlords that would be willing to work with our youth, and really reaching out to our community partners that already have those connections. That's working together. It takes a village, right? So working together to make sure that we can find someone that can assist us with meeting those needs as well. But I can say that this team advocates so well that if I ever found myself in a crisis, I would want them advocating for me for sure.
Thank you. Anyone else want to tackle that one?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, kind of to echo Deanna's point, I think just accessing or finding housing is really tricky. And so for us, I'll be the first to admit that we need to do a better job of this. And this is one of our, strategic priorities is, how do we help our clients locate housing? Because as I said, we've got about 7,000 voucher holders and they're going out to find housing on the private market. So kind of navigating that has been really tricky because we essentially say, all right, here's your voucher, now go find housing. And you've got predatory landlords to deal with. And so we're really trying to be in more partnership with our residents and families to help them navigate that process and find housing that's really safe for them and their families.
And agree, and it's education of the youth, right? Education of our clients. How do you find them? What is okay? What are your rights?
Yep. And what are the red flags, when dealing with landlords? Yep, exactly.
What's the process? You don't just get a voucher and move into an apartment. It's a process.
Exactly. Yep.
So teaching and education is very important as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest challenges is letting the youth who need our services know about our services. A component for that is outreach. Now, pre-COVID, we did not have the outreach program. And as I said on, it's FSBE funded, and as I said on calls with FSBE, the agencies that did have these programs pre-COVID said it was a lot easier to find the youth experiencing unstable housing than it is now. And the frustrating thing about that is no one really knows why. No one knows what happened after COVID. So it's just getting our message and our services to those youth. And then aside from that is once we bring the youth in, one of the questions I think we'll touch on this is the community resources we need. A lot of these youth are kind of starting from ground zero. So it's, clothing and hygiene, which we can help with, but then it's getting IDs and it's GED. And those are the partnerships we really want to grow so that when we have a youth that wants to get their highest level of their GED, we know exactly how to go to, and we can kind of fast track that for them. So as everybody knows, this is a nasty cycle we're dealing with where you don't have a stable home, it's hard to think about school or work, right? So it's kind of those partnerships we need to develop to move them along quickly, that once they're here, they can start feeling like they're working towards their goals.
Right. Denitra, did you have anything you'd like to say on that question?
My response would be a little different than everyone's because my position is unique because we deal with residents. But speaking of what we are doing in the community, I think that our organization does a great job with building new homes and making other homes available for people in the community.
Thank you. Thank you. And so this is a great discussion. I see so many questions in the chat, and I want to get to them all. And if we don't get to them all today, we will get you responses. But I do want to ask our partners before we round out, if they could share with us how folks can get involved with supporting your work, and how do they get into contact with you and your organization?
I think number one is help us educate the community on what the needs are. You know, help us build those relationships with landlords, you know, talk to people. Many things that we don't even think about. It's not just getting in the apartment, but now they have no furniture. So like furniture donations, links to resources for startup food for the apartments, even like baby items for our parenting youth. So really just building those resources and sharing those resources with each other so that we have a plethora of options to choose from when we find youth in these crisis situations and needing that assistance.
And what's the best way to get into contact with Epworth?
Well, Mary Saunders is answering some questions for us here in the chat. So I'll ask her to put in the chat all of our contact information. We have a street outreach cell phone. We have a 24-hour hotline, and then she can put in, you know, phone numbers for some of us here. But if you go to our website, Epworth website, there are each program is listed and has a specific contact person and contact information for each program within our agency.
Okay, thank you. Next partner.
Yes, I went ahead and posted.
Oh, sorry, Chris, we keep talking.
Sorry.
I keep interrupting you. You go first this time.
I went ahead and posted my contact information in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me directly. And the best way to get involved is, you know, what we really like to do is have people come over and take a tour of our facility. You know, I'm sure a lot of people have driven past it. We'd like to get in and see the building and see the grounds. You know, and I think Deanna really touched on it. It's really that coordination of services. We're certainly not trying to reinvent the wheel, and there's things that other agencies do better than us. So we don't need to duplicate services. So let's figure out what we're all really good at. And instead of doing duplicate services, let's get the youth to the experts in that particular area, and let's help move them forward.
I couldn't agree with that more. And I would say, you know, what we need is advocacy as much as possible. I think Deanna mentioned, you know, we need more landlords, more quality landlords who are interested in and motivated by providing affordable housing and helping our residents be successful. So that's really important to us. And, you know, we're going to be working, one of my projects that I'm working on is sort of creating more of a landlord network, an outreach program. So I'll probably be following up with some of you about that. But the easiest way for now to get in contact with us is through me. Eventually, hopefully we will have a service outreach coordinator that's farther down the line. So right now, please contact me and I'll try to set something up.
Denitra?
I hate to say this, but again, my situation is a little bit unique. Our residents more so rely on other agencies, or I'll say we rely on other agencies for support. My team, we don't have a lot to offer to the to other partners, but you can always reach out to me. My number is 314-376-5856. My email address is on the screen.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for sharing today. We've heard from our partners that are working along the housing continuum to support families and youth who are battling with being unhoused or in transition, from St. Louis County's Housing Authority to providing safe and affordable housing, to the aspirational single family rental housing provided by Beyond Housing. Today, we've had the opportunity to hear the stories and learn about resources. The next step is to partner. On the screen, you will see important dates coming up for us. October 13th, our network monthly meeting will be in person. Again, it will be in person, and you'll get more information about that as we approach the date. The topic will be Youth First and Network Announcements. October 15th, quarterly metrics will be due from grantees. November 10th, we will have our part 2 of our housing topic discussion at our network meeting. And we don't have any other announcements, and I don't think we have enough time to hear about events, but if you guys want to go ahead and put it in the chat so everyone knows. Thank you again for our panelists. We really enjoyed the discussion, and thank you all for coming this month. And we are excited to see you next month. If you need us, just give us a call. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.